Hi, it's Julie Ann. I'm back again, and this time with a fascinating lady. Her name is Ellen Whiteside, and she is a fellow traveler. So we've already been chit-chatting, and getting all excited about travel. But Ellen, welcome.
Thank you so much, Julianne. This is a real joy to be here with you today.
Oh, thank you. Tell me about you. Tell me what you do right now.
Okay, currently, I have been the owner of Sacred Grove Retreat Center, which is located in Gold Hill, North Carolina, 1 hour northeast of Charlotte, North Carolina. And I've been doing that for 19 years. And then I recently got a radio show gig on a syndicated radio station called WDRB Media. So I have a radio show called Mindset and Miracles every Monday at 11 a.m.
Wow, that sounds absolutely awesome. And you are a dream builder coach.
I'm a dream builder coach as well. Yes.
Now tell me about dream building, because I just love that idea that you can just build your dreams.
Well, that is the Dream Builder course is through the Brave Thinking Institute. Do you know who Mary Morrissey is?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so she's a big spiritual teacher. I'd say she's up there on the level almost of Tony Robbins as far as her following. And I used to she had a metaphysical church for years. When I lived in Portland, Oregon for 22 years, I used to go to her church there. But she has this whole institute for coaches, and it's called the Brave Thinking Institute.
Wow.
And so I became a dream builder coach through that. And it's really about figuring out what you love and really creating a vision toward what it is you want to manifest, getting rid of all the stories, getting rid of all the whatever's holding you back, so that you take taking action steps toward your dream each day, and eventually you achieve it with the help of a coach.
I love it. And your radio show, Mindset and Miracles, how inspiring is that?
You know, this just fell out of the air, and they told me I could do whatever I wanted, and I was like, it's like I had a few days. I had like to figure out, what are you going to name your show? And I was like, I don't know. I love to me, mindset is everything. Yes. And so I thought, well, I want to do mindset. So I do a mindset moment to start the show, to tell people like just a different mindset tool that I use to help someone that they could use on a regular basis. And then I come up with a miracle story. So I'm looking for people. I'd love to have you on my radio show too.
Oh, I'd love that. I can tell you, I got like more.
I know you have a million stories.
I have a million stories. I have a million miracles as well, which is even better.
Even better. I like that.
So you interview people on your radio show, and so is it a live show? Is that how that works?
No, it is recorded.
Right.
Right now, I've done 4 shows so far, and I've had a friend of mine who she and I do a women's empowerment retreat called Empower and Elevate. And so I've had Nicole on with me because it's so much fun.
Yes.
It's so much fun with you. So we're like having a blast. And I'm like, I don't know if anybody else is enjoying this, but we certainly are.
That's great.
Yeah. So I feel like we are, other people are too.
Yes, absolutely. I'm sure really inspiring people as well.
Yeah. And that's our intention, to bring positive. I wanted to have an hour of positivity. I wanted to be shining as much light and love on the planet, at least for an hour. And so as my part of what I can do. So that was my intention. And I just thought, well, Mindset and Miracles to me speaks of that. So, and I thought it's an easy thing to come up with, because so many people have miracle stories.
Yes, absolutely. And, and it's interesting. I've worked on quite a few sort of miracle style books. And it's really interesting how people change their perception about what a miracle is when they actually understand what that means, and that it's absolutely possible. Then that just changes everything, right? Changes everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the more you realize that, the more I look at almost everything as a miracle.
Yes.
Every breath I'm taking is a miracle. It's like, and when you embrace that the miracles are happening all the time, then you live in that magical world of expecting it to happen. Therefore, they do.
Yes. Now, before we hit the record button, you and I were talking about travel, and we were talking about how it just lights up your world because you get to meet so many amazing people. But you did something extraordinary because you actually went like hitchhiking in Europe in like the 70s. Am I right?
78 is when I started. September of 78 is when I hitchhiked in London and in England and Scotland. And then I went to the mainland. I did a Euro pass for 3 months. So I guess I didn't start hitchhiking again until I went back. I went home for my brother's wedding in December, and then I went back over to Europe in March, and I lived in London for a couple of months, and then Paris for 6 weeks, and then hitchhiking through France, Spain, and Portugal, Germany, that type of thing. So
that's awesome. And I know you've got
hitchhiking. I loved hitchhiking.
And you've got all the journal notes.
Yes, I have all my journals.
I know, and I'm so happy that
I was talking to Julianne, and she's written a book because she had all her journals and her letters. I have letters that I wrote to my parents. So I'm excited to take on the adventure of writing this book.
Yes.
Including it. And I love the way that you did it, the style you did it in. I'm going to use that because, it's interesting because I know you have the pictures in there.
Yes.
And I still have, that was back in the day if you had to take pictures, right?
Exactly. Yep, that's what these are. These are done with like a real camera. With
a real camera.
Back with the roll of film where you have to go and take it to Isabella.
And then now mine are so faded looking.
Oh, I know. Well, these are too, right? You see the photos. They're really faded. And, and the extraordinary thing is, when I talk to people about my trip, I say I went around the world for 7 years, basically without a camera. So I had like 40 pictures or something. I think I had like 4 rolls of film and that was it. And it's like from my 7 years, could you imagine now? Like I would have I have like thousands of pictures because we just take it on our phone, right? But back then it was can you remember that?
I know, it's like a totally different world for sure.
A totally different world.
But you know what I did? I'd have to tell you what it was 1 year I had this feeling of like I wanted to write about I was doing a gratitude thing on my Facebook profile. And I was doing a story every day about Europe. And so I would write the stories. And then what I would do is I would go on the internet and I would look up the places that I had been. And I got beautiful, of course, there's a million images of these places. And one of my favorite places in Switzerland looked exactly the same today as it did in the 70s because It's high up. Nothing has changed. There's just little, the whole thing looks 100% exactly. So it's like finding that picture looked just like my pictures, but much crisper and in much better shape. So,
and what I love about what you said, and I loved, can I share your idea for the title? Because that's awesome.
Yes.
Hitchhiker's Guide to Manifesting. And you know why I love that, Ellen? Is because, like you said, with your radio show and your Dream Builder coaching, it's all about mindset. It's totally about mindset. And we were talking earlier, like you're living in America, there's a lot of people in fear and if your mindset is that it's all going to be okay, it's all going to be okay.
All going to be okay.
Right? And I find it extraordinary, actually, when people say to me, oh, wow, you were traveling by yourself around Asia. And I'm like, I was never by myself. I was never by myself, right? Because you meet so many people.
So many people. And when you travel alone, you meet so many people. That's what I realized when I was hitchhiking by myself at first in England and Scotland, how many people I was meeting.
Yes.
And then because I stayed in youth hostels most of the time anyway, so you really meet people, and then I would travel with someone for a little while from that. And then, it was just like I was never alone. Yes. And yet when I started traveling on the train, the only people I was meeting on the train were Americans traveling on the train. And I'm like, no, I want to meet people of the country. And so I loved when my Europass ended so I could start hitchhiking again.
Oh,
and
that's so
the natives. Because that's what I wanted to be. It's like, yes, it was great. I met some great Americans on the train and I wanted to meet people of the countries.
Yeah, Yeah. And what I love is what traveling teaches us, because, when you can change your mindset and that anything's possible.
Yeah.
But, a lot of people, like you said, if you've only ever lived in America, you've never been traveling, you only know what you know, right? So you only know what you hear from the TV or the radio, or what your parents told you, or your peers, or people at work, or whatever. But that's your world. Your world is just like this little, it's like this, it's tiny, It's tiny. And so when you travel, that now it's like, whoa, like it's completely open, and you get to find out what you, from a feeling point of view, what you honestly like, what you honestly don't like, to be inspired by people and motivated by people. And, like I say that before I started to travel, I didn't think love was real.
Really?
Honestly, I thought that it was only in the movies, and that it was all kind of blown out of proportion in the movies, right? And then when I started to travel, suddenly I was witnessing the movies, right? I was like, holy shit, it's true. This is a real thing. Like, look at those people. They're smiling and they're happy and they're helping one another. And, I found it was amazing, like really extraordinary that people actually truly live their lives like that. And that's when I realized, oh, I don't belong in England. I don't belong there. Yeah, that's not, everything's very gray, and the people are very gray, and they don't walk around smiling all the time, right? So,
that it reminds me of when I was in Germany. It was when it was East and West Berlin still. So when I went into the communist part of it, when I went into East Berlin, and just speaking of everything being gray, the skies were gray at that time. The bombed out buildings that you still see, cathedrals that are bombed out. Nothing had been fixed per se. What we think of as fixed. And as there are people, when you go over the border, there were, you could see the warehouses with no windows, but knowing that there's probably people sitting in there with sniper guns to get people that would try to escape. And then the people were just, everybody seemed like they were dressed in gray. They were looking down. There was no joyfulness. And I tell you, I got out of the back country and I felt like the biggest flag waving American of like, God, I'm so grateful I live in a country where I'm not like, this isn't my life.
Yes. Yes, I know.
Under that control like that.
Yes.
So I was so grateful. And that is the thing. You don't get that. Americans, to me, are the most spoiled brats on the planet. And crying and screaming and yelling and always upset about something.
Yes.
If they would just go to another country, they go, oh my God, we have it really good here. Oh my God.
Just don't come to my building, okay? Because in Mexico. Anyway, that's a distraction. But no, honestly, you've really hit it on the nail there, right? Because it's gratitude. It's about gratitude. Because when you see the way that other people live, and then you reflect on all of the things that we were given in our life, that, I lived in Africa for, I lived in South Africa for 6 months. And then I lived in East Africa for 6 months, right? And I was particularly in East Africa because in Tanzania, actually in Kenya as well, it was a British colony, right? And so every time everybody met me, they recognized the accent and they'd be like, oh, we need your queen back. Send your queen back. And they were like, because when they had the queen there, everything was great, right? They all had benefits and they went to school and, the world was a great place. And then when they got their independence, now they got to pay for school. And unless you can afford a uniform, then you can't even go to school.
Right.
And, and so it was so interesting to just hear a different perspective even just about school, it's something that we take for granted.
I've never heard that. I've never heard that about that during when England was the ruler, had taken over for a while. So were they educating girls at that time, or was it?
Yes. Yeah, they had all the school. That's where and the funny thing is they still hold on to the school uniform, right? Which is just really interesting. And when I was in South Africa, I went to one of the Zulu festivals. And with part of the festival is they do this kind of dance, a celebration that shows like the history, right? And they have all of these boys, and they're dressed up like Boy Scouts. They got like the little toggle, and the shorts, the long shorts, and the white socks, and they look exactly like Boy Scouts because that's how the British dress them, right? Yeah, and so it's really that they through history they actually loved when they were under the British rule, because the children got to have like school and school uniforms and all these things, right? And now they're just left with, the schools are still there, but like even like for most of the families, their biggest challenge is having enough money to pay for the uniform. If they can't have the uniform, like they literally go without food to buy the uniform so that their kids can go to school, and then the kids end up there. Like some of them would walk 4 hours to get to school, and they just didn't even think anything of it. It was just like life,
Their life.
Yeah, it's what they know. And so, from their perspective, when they look at, somebody from America or, they are like, oh, wow, look, they're so lucky and they're so rich and they have so much, right? Yeah. And like you say, we don't appreciate it. We have no idea how lucky we are in the first world.
No.
Yeah. Right? No idea.
Gratitude is, to me, because gratitude is the frequency of abundance too,
Yeah.
So that being on that vibration level of what do you want to create, the more you have to be thankful for, the more you will manifest things to be thankful for.
I love it. So give me an idea of like where you spend your time, because I feel like all our listeners want to spend time with you and come and hang out with you because you're so much fun.
Sacred Grove. Yeah. I'm to North Carolina.
Yeah.
It's a state to be in. So that's where I am most of the time.
Okay. And you do personal retreats, right? So people come and they'll come on retreat and you completely change their life in a week.
I do 3-day and 4-day, 3-day, 4-night retreats, and I can always extend it as well. So I do personal coaching while they're there. We do an excursion and stuff like that as well. So
it's life-changing.
Yes.
Yeah. Life-changing. Yeah. You must love that.
And then we also we have a holistic festival that I love twice a year we put on. So we have I have a dance arbor. So there's ceremonial native ceremonial dances that we have there. But the way the arbor is set up for the dancers to spend the night in, it has a roof over it. So it's perfect for vendors to have booths and stuff. So we've started doing a holistic fair and have different vendors come with their crafts or either healing modalities. We'll have like tarot card readers or, anybody that does hands-on any kind of healing or sound healing or you name it. And I love that we do that twice a year as well.
That's awesome. And of course, if you can't go to North Carolina, I'm assuming you do your coaching online, right?
Yeah.
On Zoom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So our listener needs to know, how do they get hold of you? Where can they find out more about you? How can they come and be on retreat with you?
If anyone, I'm on LinkedIn. If anyone wants to connect on LinkedIn, I think it's just Ellen Whiteside. I think I'm the only one there or in that name. And also I'm actually a better texter than I am a emailer. So if you want to, you can always text me at my cell phone, which is 704-299-5124, which is the phone number for Sacred Grove Retreat as well.
Okay.
So to sacredgroveretreat.com.
Mm-hmm.
The phone number on there is mine. And my regular email is loveabundanceandjoy@gmail.
Love, abundance, and joy.
Joy@gmail. And is spelled out.
And joy@gmail. I love that. Like, I bet you couldn't get that Gmail account now.
Well, I made that. I had to create a email. I forgot. It was years and years and years ago. And I thought, why not do an affirmation Gmail? That every time I write it, I love it. So I thought, love, abundance, and joy. Yes.
Absolutely. My email is Julie Inspires, and I just returned to it because every time I have a business, I'm like a founder at Influence Publishing,
right?
Or my latest one was Casa de Influencia, because that's the name of my retreat center in Puerto Vallarta, House of Influence, right?
House of Influence is the name of it. So
House of Influence.
It is kaput now, though, right?
Well, I mean, it's still there in its capacity as a retreat center. It's just that I have to make that choice. I either have tenants or I have the building empty and I have groups there. So that was kind of one of the biggest challenges there, is that if I don't have groups, I can't have tenants, because it's like, yeah. You can't tell people to leave for a week.
Sorry, you have to leave for a weekend. I'm for a week.
Yeah, that's so.
You can be here these times and you have to leave then.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. I've tried to do the same thing. I tried to do that when COVID hit, because I thought, well, maybe I should do, what is it? Furnished Finders. Do you know that?
No, I don't.
Furnished Finders is for traveling nurses.
Oh, how interesting.
They want places. I think you have to provide at least 3 months for somebody to stay, because I think that's mostly their assignments are 3 months.
Right.
But, I'd have to, I'm like, oh, I could fit them in here, but oh my God, it goes into the next week if somebody would be there.
It's like, yes. I totally know how you feel. Okay. Yeah. We are going to close this interview, but don't go away, because I've still got things to say to you, but we're going to close this interview for now. So thank you so much for your time. And we're going to be doing this again. I know we are. So, but for now, thank you for your time. And we will be talking again.
Thank you so much, Julianne.
Thank you. Thank you for walking through today's portal. I invite you to subscribe, share, and join me inside the House of Story Medicine for deeper journeys, book mentorship, and soul story retreats in Mexico. Because your voice matters.
I'm Michelle Abraham, founder of the High Vibe Podcast Network, and we're honored to have Julianne's show, Your Story is Your Portal, as part of our network family. For more inspiring shows like this one, visit highvibepodcastnetwork.com. And don't forget to grab your free gifts from our hosts in the gift vault. Stay high vibe and keep sharing your life.